In 1988, Danny Axsom performed a dissonance experiment to explain cognitive dissonance and behavior change in psychotherapy. Cognitive dissonance is used to describe the feeling that occurs when you have two conflicting views. The theory assumes that people tend to change their attitudes to make them feel less guilty about the inconsistencies between their attitudes and behavior. Dissonance theory can lead to therapeutic change because if you put choice into attending therapy, or you put effort into the therapy, the dissonance theory will suggest it will work more because you're trying to justify the effort you are putting in. The general purpose of the Axsom study is to reduce the ambiguities about whether cognitive dissonance reduction can contribute to improvement in psychotherapy. The study wants to clarify previous ambiguities in research, and the study specifically wants to see if therapy effort makes you feel personally responsible for that effort. There are some rivals from past experiences that this study is trying to work out. A rival from a past experience is high-effort subjects may have improved more because their therapy was perceived as more credible and thus as more likely to be successful. Again, this has little to do with effort justification. It could have also happened because of decision freedom, not effort justification. The experiment by Axsom started out by having 48 female and male college students and an experimenter blind to the conditions described the experiment to the subjects in two parts. The initial period during which the procedures were explained in a group session with two other people. The subjects then did the runway test, which involved having a snake in a cage at the end of the runway in a room, and the researchers measured the speed and the distance they went to the snake. After that, the subjects did a preliminary information booklet was given describing experimental manipulations and a technique to deal with snake phobia. During this period, the control group read a popular magazine. After reading the booklet, the subjects completed a second runway test and the reciprocal inhibition questionnaire, or the RIQ. At the end of the experiment, subjects were probed for suspicion and were debriefed about everything that happened. In order to not give the study away, the cover story was said that experimenters wanted to investigate various ways of people help getting over their fear of snakes. The methodological control was the control group read popular magazines. Okay. The study predicts, according to dissonance theory, that commitment to highly effortful therapy should lead to improvements only when decision freedom for effort is high, and the anticipation of effort then should be as effective for arousing dissonance as the actual performance of effort. The study contains two independent variables. The first is anticipated effort, which is depicted as either high or low effort. They framed the information differently. They had the subjects read two different stories, one that would suggest high effort and one that would suggest low effort. To make sure the stories were valid, the researchers did a pilot study and tested the validity of the high and low effort description. The second dependent variable is decision freedom. This was accomplished in the preliminary information booklet at the conclusion of the therapy description. For high choice, they were asked whether they would like to continue with the study or not, and for low choice, they were told the study would start shortly. For low choice, they were not told they had to continue, but they didn't have an option to stop. To go along with the two independent variables, there are four dependent variables. The first and the main dependent variable is the runway test, and the runway test tried to see if it influenced their reactions to snakes and saw how close and how fast they would go to the snakes. Their attitude is another dependent variable, and their attitude was measured by the reciprocal inhibition questionnaire, which measured whether people reported if they were afraid of snakes or not. And the third dependent variable is motivation. Motivation was measured by, did the subjects want to change their behavior? Would they put in more time and additional training to overcome their fears? Finally, for the fourth dependent variable, they answered more questions in the reciprocal inhibition questionnaire, which asked people, did they think they were having high or low effort, and how free they felt they could decline to participate. The manipulation checks were successful. They checked to see if the manipulations were successful in what they wanted to measure. Successful in high versus low effort description of the procedure, and they expected to be significantly more effortful. High choice subjects felt significantly more free to discontinue the experiment than low choice subjects. The results are consistent with the predictions that greatest improvement occurred in the high choice, high effort zone. The results support dissonance theory because the greatest change occurred with high effort, high choice category. Results indicated that subjects were most able to change their behavior towards a phobic object and were most motivated to make the change under conditions likely lead to dissonance arousal. Results showed a statistically significant distance result and only a marginally statistically significant latency result because it did not reach the typical level of 0.05. The study rules out most rival hypothesis. Attitude was studied and was ruled out because there is no evidence that attitude was correctly correlated with either change in approach distance or latency and is not statistically significant. Another rival hypothesis, motivation, was looked at. Greater motivation led to change. High effort, high choice subjects were more motivated and it had a statistically significant result. Some limitations to the study occur. Only marginally significant result occurred at some times. Also, they are unable to differentiate between distance-based explanations for improvement and non-arousal-based explanations, such as self-perception. Plus, the study only looks at college students, which is a limitation because how generalizable are college students to the population? Implications from the study are self-perception might account for improvements because the subjects could observe that she or he has freely chosen to undertake something high in effort in order to overcome his or her fear of snakes. The experiment should examine actual effort rather than just expectations. Instead of having them read a book, maybe they should actually carry out what they are going to do in the book.